Hey there, welcome to the Eurostep Podcast Network post-draft pod, and believe it or not, one of us definitely does not. The Bucks used the pick. They used the 24th overall pick. They actually used two picks. They used 58-2, which was the last pick in this draft because tampering. So we're going to get into it on this immediate post-draft reaction. We got the full GSPN crew. I am Ty Windish. My co-host, as always, the delightful Rohan Kadi, the exceptional Jordan Tresky, and the wonderful Adam McGee. Fellas, draft night is over, except for all the two-ways and stuff. How's it going?
I'm above the moon, Ty.
You had a great day.
I did.
Jordan, Adam?
Do well. Bucks got their pick, as the title card says, below me and below Rohan. That in itself is probably the biggest surprise of the night, more so than the player that the Bucks selected in the first round, I should say. But yeah, very, very intriguing, and overall come away at least content with where the Bucks have been with this draft night.
I'm doing well. I got to experience my good friend Ron Cuddy have a moment of sheer joy tonight, the joy of the kind I will never get to experience, just seeing the Milwaukee Bucks select the prospect I want them to select on draft night. Rohan got to have that with quite some build-up. We were on playback. There was an agreement made that picks weren't going to be spoiled. I was the only person who was like, yeah, I'm still looking. So I sat for 4.5 minutes as Rohan nearly lost his mind, knowing all of his dreams were going to come true.
That clip is going to be on Twitter if it's not already by the time you're listening to this. But yeah, the Bucks took MarJon Beauchamp with the 24th overall pick in the NBA draft. Like you mentioned, Ty, they actually kept the pick. And like Adam mentioned, this is the guy I wanted. If you guys listen to the pod where Ty and I talked about his first edition of his big board and then my version of that, I was super, super high on Beauchamp. And it came true. Like Adam said, this has never happened to me. It's not happened to him. It's just, I've never experienced a feeling like this. It's so weird. Like I'm not usually a guy who prepares for drafts. Like last time the Bucks had a pick, they traded it right away. And it was right after they won a championship. So I was like, who cares, honestly? What does anything matter? It was like 2 days after the title. And then the last pick was Dante in the first round. Like that feels like eons ago. So this feeling of being able to say, hey, the Bucks took the guy I wanted. I'm going to ride this high for a while.
Yeah, I think friend of the show, Lucas Harkins, was a huge Brogdon guy, but I don't know if he called them taking Brogdon back then. I don't remember that or not. But otherwise, yeah, I don't think any of us have been like really high, and he was number 1, I believe, on your board. Or no, maybe was Koloko? He was up there.
He was 1, but then I sort of flipped him.
Yeah, but I don't think. I mean,
you don't need to tell us that now. Just he was 1.
Yeah, he was 1. Yeah, you didn't publish a board like I did, which was a foolhardy errand. But I don't think any of us have ever had a guy we really loved before the draft that the Bucks then took.
Absolutely not.
I think the closest for me was Portis.
First win in 6. Well, that's the first win in 6. I barely mentioned Rashad Vaughn, and they obviously took him at 16 or 17 that year.
17.
Oh, was it 17?
17. Yeah, 17. Yeah, that's right. And DJ Wilson was not on the radar that year.
No.
Thon was certainly not. Thon was. We were like doomsday prepping. That's how we were looking at it as.
Like I remember being very in on Brogdon, like a lot of people were too, but obviously no one's sole focus. No one's sole focus was on the second round pick in that draft. So everyone's like, oh, I really like Brogdon, but all of the focus was elsewhere, and then we were dealing with the shock of that too.
It's been a lucky day for me. If anyone plays 2K, I packed Endgame Scotty Barnes today. Oh, just what a day it's been.
The interest level of everyone listening to this pod is just like nosediving right
We're
now.
just losing listeners.
Yeah. Back to Beauchamp. So Rohan, I'll let you start because you're the one who's very, very high. And I think anyone who's been seeing all the clips put out when he was first announced, his phone call with the Bucks front office, it's really hard, I think, not to root. I think Andrew Snyder on playback said root forable, which we had been on air for a long time, so we're all going to excuse that. But Rohan, give us your quick Beauchamp scouting report here.
Well, it starts with defensive versatility. This guy's 6'5", 6'6", with a 7-foot plus wingspan. He is going to be able to get in to Bud's rotation. He's going to have a chance right away because of his ability to play defense, his ability to switch, his ability to play in different schemes. His physical tools are there. I've also just been clamoring for years now that the Bucks need to take someone with some semblance of athleticism, like someone who can actually jump. Beauchamp is a springy guy. He's got bounce. He's got the length. He's got the physical tools. Sure, the shot is here and there, but I think he has good mechanics. I think he has the ability to maybe develop that through Wing University under Coach Budenholzer. It's an upside pick. I do think it's an upside pick, but he does have a skill right away in defense, which will let him get a chance to see the court, which is big for a guy who's going to be going to a team that has title aspirations. You need to be able to see the court to start your development. And he has a way of seeing the court.
Yeah, I think as with a lot of prospects, the swing skill here is probably going to be shooting. His G League Ignite shooting numbers, if you look at either the Showcase or the Ignite Tour, are not great. I think 24 to 30%, but it's about 30 attempts per split. So 60 total shots, which is a pretty noisy sample. I know you're high on the way his shot looks. Obviously, we've seen one player develop a good three-point shot with the Buck. We've seen a lot of players seem to, and then maybe not so much. So hopefully that goes a little better with Beauchamp. But I think really the interesting thing for me is, despite him being an older prospect, I think he will turn 22 before the season starts. I do think it's kind of a intriguing upside-y pick still. I don't think Beauchamp is close to a finished product yet at this point. And it does make sense that he's an older guy. I mean, that's just what John Horst does. I know, Jordan, you outlined this a couple weeks before the draft, that they've never taken a teenager in the Horst era, which probably means they never have ever. Maybe. I'd have to look. But they infamously didn't want to, back in the 90s. But anyway, I do think there's a fairly wide range of outcomes. I mean, you never want to extrapolate to the 100th percentile, but I do think close to best case, Beauchamp is a very good player. And even if he doesn't turn out, he's a defender, we'll see. But I think the shot is just going to be really important for him. As, a guy like E.J. Liddell, even a guy like Walker Kessler, I think all of those players, to some extent or another, that was going to determine their long-term ceiling, just because we know with Giannis long-term, hopefully on the Bucks, you kind of need guys who can shoot at least a little bit to be ideal fits with him.
My concern is the shot, because if the shot's not there offensively, there are definite challenges. I'm struggling. I'm definitely most down on it, and I'm not down on it. I said going into this draft, I don't think there's any player where I'm just like, oh, I hate that. This isn't the kind of upside I would have liked to see. I don't feel like this is a big swing, because in part of this is just how, as we said, how Horst does things, what Bud likes. This is a plug and play now guy because of his defense and because that's how Bud evaluates rookies, almost solely on their defense. If you want to get minutes, you want to get a chance to develop, you've got to see the floor defensively. And in that regard, this is kind of Dante-esque in terms of the ability to get on the floor early. Hopefully he's healthier than Dante was early in his tenure. But the chance will be there to earn Bud's trust if his defense is up to the level that it's widely being kind of advertised to be. The shooting not really being there. I know the sample is not all that significant, but I would like to see some positive signs of that pretty quickly, because his passing is not really there at all. Doesn't look like he has much comfort with the ball in his hands. He is very, very dangerous in transition. As Rowan has pointed out, he's an exceptional athlete, the kind the Bucks haven't drafted in a long, long time. So there will be points for him in transition. There could be some fun opportunities for him to get out and run with Giannis. But something else is going to have to pop offensively for him to be like a really meaningful long-term piece for me. Like, unless he's all defense kind of
solid cutter,
all defensive
too.
team guy, solid cutter. Like he's got to be able to move off ball, but you're gonna in the NBA that gets so much tougher though if he doesn't have any gravity with his shot. Like if teams aren't going to respect him with the ball in his hands or moving off the ball as a catch and shoot threat in the corner, it gets a lot more difficult. I mean, his moving would have to be absolutely exceptional. So that's the thing I'm gonna be looking out for. And we talked about this on the playback. I mean, one thing that kind of all draft evaluations of him made note of, and I do think it's fair, G League Ignite is not the ideal spot for someone like him to get a chance to showcase what he can do with the ball. So maybe the Bucks feel like and saw in workouts that there's some more there that he didn't really get a chance to show off because of the players he was sharing a team with and because of the kind of uniquely weird environment that G League Ignite offers to prospects. So maybe there's some more there we haven't seen, but it is going to be something that you guys know I hate Summer League, but I will be tuning into Summer League and I will be interested to see what he looks like beyond being an athlete, particularly in that setting where they will probably ask him and entrust him with a little bit more than they will a lot of other guys in the roster. And it's like, okay, let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can show us some glimpses of something to work with, because that is going to be the long-term key if he's to be a real kind of core rotation piece or someone we can really get excited about. But it's not a bad thing to have someone who already that we can be like, yeah, he's kind of got it defensively. I did read in a few things, and it might have been Adam Spinella's video breakdown that there are some question marks about him as an off-ball defender, and maybe good intentions leading him to some tough spots where he is a knack for over helping. That is better than the opposite. That is something you can work with as opposed to someone who's just not really trying. But it's also something we see the Bucks have problems with over and over again. So that will be one to watch and see how they iron that one out.
Yeah. To the point of like his shot and just kind of his overall game. I mean, this is not a like for like here, but I remember me, wishing the fullest outcome, fully realized outcome. But when the Bucks got Pat Connaughton, hang that jersey in the Raptors, get that merch today if you can at gspnstore.com. But I just remember thinking he's not his shot wasn't all that ready in the 3 seasons he played at Portland, and largely that was down to 1 season. Super athletic guy, as we've obviously come to know. I do think there is something to the fact that he is it's not that he's polished in terms of like being able to score without the ball, because obviously if you can't shoot particularly well, like come playoff time, that's going to be a glaring hole. But the fact that you get used to not having the ball in the hands and you're excelling in transition, can find those weak spots in the defense, and just score really high efficient shots like that itself is a useful role. And like we've seen it how many times have we come on here and talk about Bucks playoff games or games that just kind of just didn't go their way and they managed to pull it out, or they lost, or whatever the case may be. Like we saw PJ Tucker struggle games on end to not hit shots, but still make his role out there, whether it's just scrounging for loose balls, rebounding, obviously playing on-ball defense, taking on the tougher scorers. I think ultimately where I come down with the pick is that, like, it's to Rohan's point, it's a different flavor that the Bucks just have not had on their roster. Like, we look at how much Wes not saved their season, but saved their wing rotation.
Might have saved the season, honestly. I mean,
and yeah, especially in the context of not having the PJ like type guy,
not having that guy, then losing Pat for a month, then losing Chris for most of the playoffs. I mean, he was. I mean, I guess I don't know how much he saved it, but he was instrumental.
Like, we forgot about it, and who knows how he would affect it. Even losing someone like Bembry mid-season,
yes,
like the options
Grayson was in and out.
Going back to like Rodney Hood not working out, all of those kind of things.
Rod.
It's like
Shemmy.
Well,
Like,
I didn't want to bring that up.
But it's the truth that like
A few days from now, the anniversary, we'll talk about that some more, I'm sure.
But even we talked about it during the championship. Like, as much as like Wing University is such a big staple for Bud in Atlanta, like it has been a revolving door largely in Milwaukee. Like Pat Connaughton, we thought was, after the Miami series, like he can't guard Duncan Robinson. He's struggling to, cover a sharpshooter like that. Their careers have completely turned, and as it turns out. But like, they just haven't had that like stable wing rotation where you could just kind of like turn to and all that stuff. And obviously, I know we talked about it on Win 6 this week. Like Horace specifically mentioned that they were a wing short during the playoffs. So they go out, they get a wing. And he may not be the snuggest fit next to a guy like Giannis or obviously Chris, like all that stuff. But he knows how to play without the ball in his hands. And if you're coming to Milwaukee, you're not going to be asked to, produce all that many possessions with the ball in your hands. So from that standpoint, I think there is a little bit of a fit, and he obviously has NBA ready skills. It's just a matter of developing that shot. And, Dante was what it was. It was obviously very up and down, but Pat is the perfect developmental model for Beauchamp to really follow, honestly.
Yeah, and I think
they're not going to try to make Beauchamp a point guard like they did with
I was going to say that. I mean, if you talk about Wing University with the Bucks, and it hadn't translated as much. I think Pat is clearly the sterling example, and I wouldn't throw in Chris because he was pretty much a not finished product, but certainly a developed product by the time Bud got to Milwaukee. But who have they had to develop at the wing since Bud was in?
Sterling and Moore are the only two guys who I think, like, credibly, you can be like, maybe they could have become something. Like, I'm not even... Look, I liked Sterling. I liked Sterling early on. I think Sterling could have been more than he has. And even Sterling,
he's still an NBA player.
He's down from the Bucks. He's an NBA player, and he has moments where people get excited and are like, hey, Sterling Brown's pretty good. Wara, well, the book hasn't been fully written on him yet. I think we're going to see very shortly when he moves on to a U team. Maybe there's a different version of him, but
still playing pickleball.
They're not going to throw him out in the street. It's not only like, here's your stuff. It is
outdoor
your locker.
pickleball courts, though.
Well, okay, fair enough.
I played there last week. It's a great court. Scott Foster was not there.
But to the point, they haven't had prospects. They haven't had picks. They haven't made good use of the picks they had.
Nope.
And they've been dealing with scraps of free agency by the spots it comes to it. So there haven't been too many chances to develop guys like that. Obviously, I actually forgot Dante there as well.
I would say not a wing, though. And I don't think...
He's not a wing.
He's not.
Is there a mistake?
Yes.
Yeah, organizationally, there's a mistake in how they developed them.
I think yes, for sure.
But I wonder, too, like, and that is part of... I don't know where that starts with the horse division and ends with the Bud vision in getting into pass, dribble, shoot. It's like they've been asking every player, in theory, particularly drafted players, prospects to come in, to do some stuff with the ball, where sometimes it's just like, hey, how about don't get that guy to do anything with the ball? Like, let him catch and shoot when he's passed to. Let him cut and get the ball like right at the rim and get some simple points. But there is this desire to always make a little bit more out of it, where sometimes I think they should just be like, this guy's strengths are this, it's very clear, and we're going to play to that.
Yeah, I think overall, I really can't wait to see him play. I mean, Summer League is Summer League, but I want to see him play with the Bucks. I think the thing about Beauchamp that's interesting, and you could view it as a positive or a negative, because of his unconventional journey, he's never played with a quality team before in his life. The Ignite, they're a team, yes. They shot below 32% from three in both aspects of their season. It's cobbled together, right? It's for the draft. I think it's successful in what it wants to do. They've gotten a lot of guys drafted, but he has not played on a true good professional level team that has like things like, I don't know, spacing, a true offensive flow, that sort of thing. So Summer League will be interesting, but I really want to see him play. Like, what does he look like in preseason with Chris and Drew and Giannis out there? And I hope we'll see some of that, at least in preseason. we'll see about rotational role in the regular season. We touched on this on playback a little bit. We can get into this as well, but there's a lot of pending free agents for the Bucks. If most or all of them come back, there's really not that many minutes available from the jump for Beauchamp, which is not a terrible thing. I don't think it's bad.
That's a good point to bring up because I think even Eric Name, he was doing either a tweet thread or a comment thread, something like that, and just kind of outlined like this is where the Bucks rotation is at, and the free agents that we possibly become free agents in Bobby's case. With Pat coming back, like it's pretty stacked at this point. We obviously don't know if Wes is coming back, but it sounds like there's interest from his end. I'm sure the Bucks would love him back if obviously at the right price and all the tax, blah blah blah. Blah. But from that standpoint of like putting that developmental mindset, they have to. I mean, it's on them to groom and develop Beauchamp to their liking. Like they are at a point where they know their core, they know how it's going to change in the coming years. Obviously, they obviously didn't draft a brick replacement, and the future of the big man spot could very well come down to what happens with Bobby. Even then, you still want to have some cover beyond that because, as we've gone over a million times, like the drop is such a key part of the Bucks DNA. But for Beauchamp, I think that's to Ty's point. I think that's what makes it really interesting and kind of like I don't know. It kind of gives me like expectations of like after the dust settled with Thon and just be like, you have such a long roadway of where I thought he was going to be originally, and obviously that changed very quickly and probably didn't change for the better, save for one playoff series against the Raptors. But like if you don't have to ask much for Beauchamp and he develops and plays a lot with the herd or plays alongside Sandman if he's back and maybe War or whatever the case may be, like I do think there's at least something interesting from that perspective. It all could just be for nothing, and we're talking about another draft pick that doesn't necessarily pan out in the way that we thought. But I don't know. I think it's at least interesting to talk about it rather than like second round picks are like best outcome.
Yeah, it's just so hard, man. It's just so tough to get a true NBA player out of most second rounders. Yeah. Especially, I mean, even first. But I mean, the last 2 years they've not picked above 45. The last 3 years they didn't. I keep forgetting there's a draft they just didn't pick at all. I always that slips my mind.
That was the year that they traded Tony Snell and all the free agents that they had
used their pick to get off Tony Snell, which just sounds terrible now. But so 4 years since they drafted anyone above 45 overall. So yeah, of course they haven't been churning out NBA players. They haven't tried. I mean, they've tried. They haven't seriously tried. They haven't sunk assets.
No, I don't think they have. And
they've kept guys on the roster.
Horse's availability last week was like he was kind of open about it. Like they don't make secrets about how they feel about picks and how he views the value of a pick. So that speaks to some real confidence in MarJon one way or another.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that I do think is interesting, and it could be a case that we see him in a real team and within a couple of months he like takes off and is a completely different player, or that he really looks lost and he has a tough rookie year. Like I hate the concept of G League Ignite because they don't play a proper schedule and because of the way they're kind of coddled through a season. Like for all it's talked about the developmental benefits, and it's easy to be like, oh, tonight's a great night for G League Ignite. It is, but a lot of the guys who are getting drafted, not all of them, but some of them would have been kind of in the spots they would have been coming out of high school. Like they're highly touted prospects that people have their eyes on to begin with, but they're not getting reps of having to deal with the hierarchy of a team and of a team playing a set schedule, winning over a certain period of time. That even just if you're an undrafted guy who's young and making your way in the G League, you're going to go through that. And I do think that is something that kind of gives an element to the unknown, which, as I said, could ultimately turn out to be like a big positive that he gets in a more kind of nurturing environment with structure and his game unlocks really quickly. But that is that is a question mark, and that is one of the more surprising, one of the more interesting things, because that's the least Bucksy part of this pick. Because as we talked before, Horst has gone for like blue chip programs, blue chip coaches. That's been a pretty kind of, along with older prospects, that's been a feature of how he's approached the draft when he has gone and picked guys.
I did not expect them to ever take an Ignite guy.
No, it's
in that
very
article.
like,
I specifically
that part
wrote,
is unlike it.
I specifically wrote like it would feel odd to see if them drafted a guy for the Ignite.
Yeah,
just because. I mean, to Adam's point, like I think this round of Ignite players were not as. I mean, Jalen Green went second, right?
Yeah, and they also had Kuminga go 7. They had blue chip prospects last year.
There was another one,
Isaiah
right?
Joe.
Yeah, or not Isaiah Joe. God, what's his name?
There was someone else. We said it earlier on playback.
I thought it was those two. Am I forgetting?
It was Isaiah Joe.
I thought it was Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Either way, but they had a high profile, recruits. It was years in the making, that kind of thing. So they wanted to try to replicate that model of success and stuff like that. And it's essentially like a one and done program. Scoot Henderson notwithstanding, and he is the bona fide guy that everybody looked towards. Like this is the guy that everybody wanted, the next year kind of thing.
Isaiah Todd, not Isaiah Joe.
Isaiah Todd. There we go.
Oh, and also Deshaun Nix, who signed a 2-way, I think, did not get drafted.
That's right. Yeah. So I think from that perspective, like it's not, even though they're trying to get them ready for the pros and stuff like that, and they're playing, the equivalent of NBA players largely on a given night, or guys that have been in the NBA or sniffing the NBA. Whatever you want to put it, it's different to apply it when you're playing it alongside Jaden Hardy or Michael Foster. These guys are like, they're trying to have it be a launchpad to pro careers, and then may or may not work out. Like it's such a weird.
They have CJ Miles. They have a couple of vets on the team. I think the playing environment's not great. Yeah. But I do think, a big focus for them talking to the Ignite coach this year when they were in Oshkosh, a lot of it is off the court, getting guys ready to be professionals. And I do think it'll be interesting. Hopefully that helps, Beauchamp and all the guys kind of hit the ground running to even if it's not on court. We all know those things matter in the NBA, managing the off court life. And I do think the last thing on that I have, at least for now, on Beauchamp seems like a great Bucks culture fit. He said all the right things already. The clip of the phone call when Horst and Bud called him, like you could see they were really happy, not just in the way of like, oh yeah, we would have picked him first overall or whatever idiot things GMs say after drafts, but like you could tell they were genuinely happy to be the ones taking him, and he was crying on the phone. It was really cool. So I think
Bud went for dinner with him. Right? I can't remember who was a report though. Was that Eric name?
I think
Bill
so.
Newton said it, right?
Yes.
Jake Weingarten too.
Eric shared it, right.
Jake Weingarten was on it earlier in the week that Beauchamp worked out with the Bucks not once but twice.
Twice, yeah. So 2 workouts and dinner with Bud. So clearly they were very interested. And I think I'm sure that dinner with Bud is picking his brain on how he'll fit on the court and also the off the court stuff. So clearly this was a player they really went through. They really made up their minds and said they wanted him in the building, which is exciting in itself. One of my takes on this whole draft that I first started thinking about when they talked about trading up, which never really expected to happen. There weren't that many crazy trades in general. But if the Bucks either trade up or sit on the pick, it probably means they really like someone, and that's kind of exciting in itself just because we have not seen them draft many players, quite honestly, at least in the first round, players with a higher chance of panning out. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you don't want to judge Horst entirely on one draft pick, but this is kind of a big one in determining how well the Bucks do using their first. I think they've gotten both of their first right. I think overall they've done a pretty good job drafting when you acknowledge the picks that they've used. Dante is not a bad result at 17. At all.
It's honestly the average outcome.
I think it's probably better.
I'm just thinking about DJ.
If DJ was bad, but DJ was like, I think that's a low end 17th overall outcome.
DJ's more egregious based on who got drafted afterwards. You look at guys like John Collins, who doesn't get traded again because they, whatever.
17 is a tough spot. It's a tough spot because it's right in the wheelhouse of where if you got a really good run and you were there 4 or 5 years in a row, you could come away with a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
But you are approaching the crapshoot area where
if you
get it wrong, you get DJ Wilson.
Right post Lotto that year, Justin Jackson, Justin Patton, 2 former Bucks. DJ Wilson, TJ Leaf, so it's like a bunch of and then John Collins, and then Harry Giles, Terrence Ferguson, Jared Allen, OG Anunoby, a little mini heater, and then Tyler Lydon. I can't even pronounce the guy Orlando took's name. It's such a
like here. So compare that to after Dante got drafted. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker, decent player.
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter, decent player. Josh Okogie, Grayson Allen.
Okay, maybe we should stop with the Dante ones.
Chandler Hutchison, Aaron Holiday, like Anthony Simons, decent guy, but
Anthony's good, yeah.
Robert Williams was selected 27th. We don't have to talk about that.
Like Dante is not in the upper end of the outcomes of those guys.
It's not bad though. It's not bad.
It's around half. It's around halfway between that list.
It's like average.
Yeah. I mean, he started on the team that he would have started on the team maybe that won the championship. Like it's a pretty good outcome.
Look, I'll give Horst has earned so much credit, and we've given him so much credit for so much. I'm not giving him credit for his drafting unless
I think it's more fair to
unless if MarJon's the guy, I'll be singing his praises.
I'm not giving him credit for drafting. I think Dante's career trajectory to this point is the average outcome of an NBA player.
I don't think we have evidence that he's bad at drafting. We have evidence that he has a bad attitude toward drafting. Is more fair to say.
Yes,
because he just hasn't done it most years.
We've got a signing from Shams. Mississippi State's Iverson Molinar of Panama has agreed to a free agent deal with the Milwaukee Bucks.
And Milwaukee's Michael Foster is a free agent deal with the Sixers. So this is probably camp, I would guess.
Yeah, it's got to be
camp,
Exhibit 10,
maybe
right?
Summer League.
Yeah, I mean Summer League for summer. They've been usually saying Summer League, so maybe it's quote unquote full, but maybe it's an expected camp invite.
Exhibit 10. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Something like that. Do you also about? I tried to make this joke earlier, but I didn't have an opportunity. I'm going to say it anyway, though. Do we think Beauchamp was asking Bud about puzzles during the dinner?
The last piece, one of the all-time great videos. Yeah, it was worth it.
It is so good. That was a good.
I'd forgotten about that.
His giddiness when he says that the last piece, like it's like. He's either say that about like a wine that he just uncorked or like.
Oh, I was gonna say it's a good job. Good job, MarJon's 21 going for dinner with Bud because you gotta play to.
Maybe that's why they draft older guys. If
that's why they've got to be able to go for dinner with Bud.
If you can't get wine with Bud, you're not gonna make it.
You can't be a part of the champagne celebration.
That's exactly, and they're sticking to their guns. Molinar is 22, and the player they drafted with the 58th overall pick,
allegedly.
Hugo Besson is 21. So another guy they could have. I think he's still in New Zealand, maybe, or France, but also wine.
No, he was in.
Was he there?
In New York? Yeah, he came down the stairs.
So that's interesting. So I saw somebody. It was an article that was kind of confusing. I couldn't tell if it was him or somebody else took a selfie with Adam Silver. I haven't seen the picture clearly, but I'm interested to see what happens there because I know there was some rumblings that he's a potential stash player, but if he's in New York now, that does seem less likely.
Look, we had a few minutes between ending playback starting here. What did I do? I went and crunched some Hugo Besson tape.
What are your thoughts?
There's a flare off coming.
It really
Luca Vildoza, Hugo Besson. They're going to go head to head to be like who could be the most spectacular international guard on the Bucks next season. I say who could be the most. It will also be the only one, but he can do some stuff. Honestly,
he seems like the bucket getter version of Luka.
More flashy layups than flashy passes. I would say. Yeah. So, but he has that there with him. Nice highlight reel. I'll do some kind of deeper digging before Jordan and I speak with Lucas tomorrow. But above kind of on most people's big boards. Seems to be 10 to 15 spots above where the Bucks got him at. So there is a sense that he may be in value. You saying he's in New York? Well, that speaks to that too. Obviously, he thought there was a chance that it was worth his while being in New York for that. Kind of an interesting player, and curious that the Bucks. Once I start to watch them, I'm like, they are trying this, and we know their problems with backup guards. They've got a type right now. They're trying to work this one out. They want one of these.
They're listening to GSPN.
They want to entertain, and I can get on board with that. Like he is an exciting prospect to me. I feel like I'm a parody of myself, but go watch a few minutes of Hugo Besson, and everyone will be like, "Oh, okay." Like if this guy's in summer league again, that's going to be fun. And maybe like with Luka, maybe they're like, Luka's great and all, but he'll be better at 21-year-old version of Luka. Let's go for that.
Or why not both?
Well, why not both? You're speaking my language now.
To clarify, sorry, Jordan, clarify, I don't think we mentioned this. The Bucks have acquired that 58th overall pick that they took Hugo with in a trade with the Denver Nuggets, allegedly.
Pacers. Indiana Pacers.
Why did I say whatever?
Because it was originally Warriors is what it was reported as and deleted, but it was the Pacers.
Yes, that's
the Pacers. So where did I get Nuggets from? Whatever. The Pacers. And the terms have not been disclosed yet.
And John Horst refused to speak about it at his press conference.
Well, because he can't.
Unofficial. Yes, exactly. He doesn't want to lose next year's pick.
They've already taken it. And someone asked him a question, and he's like, what, you consider talking about this? No more picks.
Does anyone think NBL owner Chris Middleton could have talked to New Zealand breaker Hugo Besson?
Is that tampering?
No.
Is it the same team?
No, it's not. I thought it was.
That'd be awesome.
Of course, there's a Eurostep, former Eurostep guest, former member of the Bucks organization, boots on the ground in the NBL too.
Champion Chase Buford.
Yeah, I'll have to hit him up.
And former Herd player Jalen Adams.
Yeah.
RJ Hampton also played for the Breakers. That's when he did his NBL stint.
Former Buck for about 4 minutes.
That's right, and then he threw the hat when he was on video.
I never remember these things, but I know Jordan always will. So
I don't know why. Again,
Jordan will never forget these things.
Draft night. It's always tormenting things.
I'm trying to find an ESPN big board, but they're all like best player remainings at this point. But Hugo, I saw my eyes were raised. He was included on KOC's big board, which is noteworthy because it only went to 50. He was in the 40s on that, so to get him at 58 is interesting. Vicini had him right. I think Vicini had him 59, so kind of dead on. But still, I mean, you're
47 on KFC's big board. Yeah.
You're seeing players, picked ahead of him that were like damn near 100 on Vicini's board too. So
Gavoni had him mocked to the Hawks at 44.
Wow. So a couple of 40s grades. So that's obviously anytime you draft a guy at 58, far from a sure thing. But it does seem like a chance that he's an interesting player, still pretty young, can score the basketball. Kind of the opposite of, not the opposite, but kind of different to Beauchamp in that I don't think he's a certain defender, but an interesting gamble to take. And I like the swing here for sure.
Well, do you want to share KOC? We were having some fun about KOC's comps.
I don't know if I do.
One of KOC's comps for our friend Besson is Bogdan Bogdanovic.
We're going to lose him.
What more fitting way? John Horst was like out the playoffs. Like, is he buying the final pick of the draft purely to like give the fingers to Adam Silver? And then he goes and picks a guy who's getting Bogdan Bogdanovic comps? Well, maybe it's meant to be.
Buys the pick in the draft.
Maybe he's the final piece, Rohan. Maybe it's Hugo Besson.
Maybe.
The Bogdan Bogdanovic we all wanted all along.
Yeah. I'm already thinking of Hugo photoshops from that Marty Scorsese film.
Hugo? Nice.
It was called the Hugo. The Hugo. I don't know why I said it like that. Like an old man.
It was not called the Hugo, but I look forward to those ideas, Jordan.
The trade for Hugo, reportedly, is interesting. I wonder why they can't, because there's a bunch of second-round trades that have already been confirmed with the league, and the NBA lists them on the page. What are the Bucks giving up that they can't do it yet? You know what it is?
League calendar.
The cash.
You're buying. Yeah, it's the cash.
The cash. They have none left because of Yorgos.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
That's it. Yeah. Good call, Jordan. I was thinking, I was like, are they waiting to send cash?
Third straight year that they have made a draft trade with the Pacers.
And the second straight year they got. Yeah.
I'm not Brogdon. Obviously, last year with the switching of was it 3 seconds, right? For whatever pick that was.
31 for 54, 60, and a future second. I believe in 2025.
Yeah. So there is a relationship there with that front office and the Bucks.
Two straight years they've gotten the last overall pick from the Pacers. 3 straight years they've used the last overall pick in the draft, which is pretty weird.
Very weird.
But yeah, it must be cash.
To buy it too.
Yeah, they're probably just sending cash, and they have to wait until July 1 or whatever it is.
There's got to be some money laundering going on between the two teams, right? Like they just keep sending money back and forth.
Like a cluckery situation is what you're talking about?
Keep it quiet. Keep it quiet until Pat's next deal is signed, sealed, and delivered. We don't want anyone looking into that. But it does stink because otherwise we'd get some horse stuff.
They find real estate with this money that's been folded.
We're leaving it alone, Adam. You're making
putting people's names.
Concert venues.
We don't get any horse thoughts on Hugo, which is too bad. He's speaking on Beauchamp right now and just on the G League in general. Some interesting thoughts on wings down there and the play style. But we won't get any on Hugo, and I don't know if we probably won't get any on Iverson Molinar either, which I think we'll be able to live without for now.
Okay, that's a name I just found out is a thing right now. So
no, I read it out earlier.
No, I know. Like that's when I found out.
Oh, okay. I was just sure you thought you didn't think they signed another player.
No, I've been high on in the last 4 years. I've been high on one draft prospect ever, and he is a member of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh, he's named after Allen Iverson, according to Wiki.
Nice.
Yeah.
AI coaching the Bucks. In an assistant capacity, confirmed?
Speaking of coaches, I do have a fun fact.
It's almost 1 a.m.
Yeah, I do have a fun fact. Do you guys know who coached MarJon Beauchamp in high school?
Oh, I was just saying, I know the Ignite.
Jason Terry. I don't know.
No, but close. Different Seattle guy.
Jamal Crawford?
Nope.
Gary Payton?
Nope. Brandon Roy.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Okay. Okay. I'm even more.
Brandon Roy was supposed to be. He had a lot of success with them. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Well, I should say he went to a couple high schools. One of his high schools. I think the one he ultimately graduated from.
Is that the same? That was the same one as MPJ too, right? And Jonte.
I think. Oh, here, notable athletics. It doesn't look like they've updated. Oh yeah, MPJ and Jonte Porter. Yep. And Masai Ujiri, although I don't think he played for Brandon Roy there.
Masai to the Bucks confirmed? Question mark? Exclamation point?
Or the Nuggets, which he actually came from the Nuggets. So
I was gonna say, he's been there, done that.
Yeah. Do we have any other draft night thoughts? I think we mentioned on this pod you guys are going to dive into the players with Lucas Harkins more. And we just haven't had time to dive too deeply yet, quite honestly. But I think we talked about doing general NBA stuff. Honestly, not that much happened. I mean,
pretty boring night.
Liddell was kind of surprising.
Liddell
slide as much. I think actually it was Adam Spinella.
Shocking to me.
Adam Spinella had a report last week that the feeling around his draft stock was maybe overinflated. Unfortunately, it kind of struck out that way. But yeah, overall, I mean, kind of a milquetoast draft outside of Banchero. Milquetoast.
What is that?
MILQUETIST.
It's always hyped up for all these trades and stuff like that. And obviously, outside of Banchero going number 1 and John Hammond with an impressive smokescreen that only Houdini could rival.
Well, except that, every well, not every, but most sports books had that, and yet Woj and Shams doubled down this morning. And then I was like, oh,
Can I?
what?
This is going to derail. This is going to derail the podcast completely. So, and this is just imagine me as Michael Scott trying to explain how a surplus works. Yep, that scene.
Yeah, got it.
When all the betting odds are going on and everybody's like, why is it's plus whatever number for Banchero and all that stuff? It's not based on information. It's based on the sports.
No, but it is because
money,
yeah,
right?
but why are they making money? When money shifts in a major way, when all the reports are that 1, 2, 3 is chalk, it's because someone has information and they're putting a lot of money on the outcome of number one changing. So it isn't always necessarily based on information, but when big money goes on, it is not generally people just like, hey, I'm going to bet millions of dollars on this and I know nothing about it. Like, there is usually information involved. So that is, I get your point, but there is generally a combination. And in this case, there obviously was. Like, someone knew, someone has made some money on this.
Coach
because, well, the lines moved in a major way overnight because it was like the books were saying, like, not BUCKS,
but yeah,
the sports books were saying, oh, it's Jabari 1, Holmgren 2, Banchero 3. Last night when I went to bed, that's all the reporters were saying. And by the time I woke up this morning, it was like, whoa,
it was off the books.
The lines had moved completely. So big money came in, and in hindsight, yeah, someone knew. But yeah, I get your point. But at that level, like, to move the line that much, the amount of money that takes, that is not blind betting, and that is not like thousands of random people betting $5 and $10. That's someone with information.
Okay, because as a gambling novice, I can't discern what is like actual information or sports books saying like, oh, this is like, I don't know, over or undervalued.
The thing with the
stock.
draft for betting that is different from most other types of betting is there is a correct answer that someone can know.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
You can have the information. You could know all 30 picks if you do the right people. Like, and that's a difference in outcomes of other things. So information is definitely there. I'm sure some people were just like, oh, I like the odds, I'm betting on Banchero, but that's not what moves the line like that. So some few people knew, and they made a lot of money off it. And then this morning, when everyone saw the line move, you have a lot of people like, oh, well, someone knows something, I'm going to get on that too.
Props to the Magic. Kept the cards close to the vest.
The gambler.
That's right.
We're talking gambling for the gambler. Like, what else could we ask for?
Gotta know when to hold them, gotta know when to fold them.
That's right. But yeah,
I know that reference.
Because of the commercial?
What commercial?
Never mind. Jeremy Grant to Portland.
Kofi Coburn to the Utah Jazz. Just put that out there.
Would have been a fun two-way for the Bucks.
I would like to see
that name on a Utah Jazz jersey.
Oh, the new jerseys as well. Oh God.
They should burn those jerseys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Coburn those.
Yeah, it's 12:45. Does anyone have anything else, or are we?
No, we've been in front of our screens for way too long.
7 hours.
It's been a while.
No. Not
first summer league game, July 8th?
6th.
July 6th?
7th, 8th.
Rohan,
we're asking Rohan for days. Like, we're going to be here all night.
He's just saying every number.
Including the one that I originally said.
They'll test the man on days and dates. It doesn't work out well.
It's true.
I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm going to trust Jordan and say the 8th. Does that work for everyone?
Hold on. I've got the whole thing in front of me. It's the 8th.
Yeah, Jordan.
6 p.m. on the 8th.
No surprise that Jordan knows the first day of Summer League.
Not at all.
Oh, no surprise! I didn't know what day it was.
And I do think, to clarify, because actually I tweeted a thing about the league year for buying the 58th pick and got a question about when that is. It's like next week. Like it's not.
Yeah,
like, it should
it's
be
after
finalized.
the moratorium.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
so
like the first. Yeah,
they should be able to confirm the trade well before Summer League and have Hugo there if they are planning to bring him over. And I think he could actually do Summer League and still not come over. I think that happened last year with
Yeah,
Ruckus.
sure. You can play Summer League and then go back to wherever.
You can also play Summer League and not have a contract, as Sterling Brown did when they traded for his pick.
Yeah, it's a good call.
He doesn't seem to be on the Breakers active roster at the moment, so that might be one wrinkle to that. Is I don't think he has a team, which usually when you stash a guy, they're under contract with an international team for a period of time. So,
do we think
maybe I'm wrong on that, but it doesn't seem like
maybe two-way.
That's also possible. Yeah,
that is also possible.
That'd be a fun two-way.
They don't usually go that kind of route with two ways.
They did with Mamu.
Well, I mean, Mamu came up through the college system,
And there's no buyout too, which is what we thought with Yorgos last year.
Yeah. Yeah, then obviously that prevented Yorgos from being a two-way guy, so that should not apply here, which is
that also is the example that we should not make predictions for how the Bucks are going to work out this part of it.
Yeah, I notice I'm not saying any hot takes. I'm like, two-way? Maybe he's here, maybe he's not. Those are pretty much the three options. I would not expect roster spot, but as you mentioned, Adam, we've been wrong on those calls before. And yeah, I think that's about everything.
That's it for us. I forgot how to do an outro for a second. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Eurostep Podcast Network. I am now just tied for life with Beauchamp. It's ride or die.
For life.
It's like my integrity is resting on this pick.
The more you lean into this, the more nervous I get.
It's okay.
Because I saw Ty do this last year,
anyway,
and it did not end well. So Rowan Cuddy never known to jinx anything.
I was very worried they were going to draft Kessler because I feel like I'm very tied to him. Adam was way higher on him than I was, but that one I definitely would have paid for. I don't know if I'll get tied to Beauchamp. We'll see, but take it away, Rowan.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. Check out gspn.info for all of our links, pod random, and we will talk to you next time.